Not much going on in the football and football gaming world right now, except another React. We got another company, Sports Interactive. The football manager community, I've seen it. They're not very happy. Now, for me, I'm an FM casual. You guys watch the FM on this channel. I will always enjoy FM. But I will say, even with the overhaul they've done this year, everything is really confusing. So that's been my feedback. You know, the instructions, the training, it's a lot more confusing, and there are tons of bugs. Tons of bugs. So Zealand made a video, who is, if you don't know, guys, the largest FM YouTuber. He's the largest FM YouTuber, and I would say, you know, he really does like FM. He's normally pretty positive about FM. So the fact that we have a State of Football Manager video that was posted 10 days ago, and it was posted 3 or 2 days after the full release, there was already a release that was delayed for a year, is Sports Interactive joining the greedy companies like Konami and EA, where they release broken, unfinished, unpolished releases every single year. I guess we're going to find out. We're going to react to this today, guys. This is going to be our video today over on the main channel, and we're going to see what Goat Zealand is saying about Football Manager.
As well, that it's about to come out, and this is me from the future, just a little bit having played in that update for 2 days. And it has solved some of the problems, but the game, even after the launch update, is still obviously not finished. There are certain screens that are not there, and even simple things like if you are playing a match with the crowd sound on, the crowd will just go away for half the match, and you just hear the ball being kicked around in silence. You know, pretty obvious things that are still not fixed after the update. So even though it is significant, I'm going to reference it, and when I'm referencing it, know that it is a significant update that patches a lot of crashing bugs and those sorts of things. The game is still unfinished, and the rest of the point of this video still holds true. So enjoy me from 2 days ago. It is officially time to hold a State of the Football Manager. Why? Because of, well, this. Mostly negative reviews. And when you hold over the mostly negative reviews, you'll see that in the English language, only 22%
That's one of the
Steam
lowest reviews ever
for Football Manager 26.
Guys. I'm telling you, look at this. Guys, look at this. If I go Steam, right? Look at even FC26, which I tried to pull up earlier. 37, so mostly negative, but 37% in the last 30 days are positive, and 45% of the English reviews are positive. 22%. I mean, usually EA is just ripped on, and I'm pretty sure FM24 was super highly respected.
Are positive.
So that is very low.
2%, right? And this is unprecedented in the history of Football Manager. Just as a reference, 94% of the reviews of Football Manager 24, even after you can imagine a flurry of negative reviews with the game cancellation, 94% of the reviews on FM24 were positive. 94 to 22. Now, obviously, there is a sort of tidal wave of hate that is going on. I'm not going to go all the way to say that it is review bombing, but let's also be honest and mention the fact that that is only contributing to a certain amount of that ridiculously low percentage, and that the vast majority of what is contributing to that really low percentage is the fact that the game has been released, but it hasn't even been released. The fact that I have given this game every benefit of the doubt and tried to be incredibly reasonable about my expectations, giving Sports Interactive every opportunity to stick the landing with a pretty solid, chunky launch day update, only for this to happen. I don't know if you noticed this. FM Assist, right? I guess maybe this is what FM Assist is for. It's kind of their news Twitter. Obviously, they would have been afraid to put this on their main Twitter. Tweeted out confirmation of our plans for updating FM26 ahead of the full launch tomorrow. To me, this was the final straw, because I spent the entirety of the last 2 years looking forward to yesterday, which would have been the launch day for FM26. Not the entirety of 2 years. I mean, for 1 year, I was looking forward to FM25, but you get the general idea. My favorite game. It's finally going to have the updated, you know, it's going to be on a new engine. It's a new era. All the smoke they were blowing and I was huffing. And this is the post that thing links to, by the way. As we get ready for tomorrow's full launch, we would like to let you know that due to the multi-platform submission process, last Friday's FM26 update will serve as the initial day one release build. This essentially means that in a flurry of hot fixes that Sports Interactive unleashed in the first 9 days of the beta being out, which is good, at some point one of those hot fixes that went live was just submitted as the final build to various platforms, right? And I have since asked some colleagues, some friends about how this process works, and they've explained it to me. Essentially, depending on what platform you're on, they have to have the build that's being released a certain number of days in advance, right? And then obviously all of the platforms based off of the contract have to have the exact same build on the actual release day. But there's more. There will still be an update on the full release. This will simply be to remove the beta watermark and the report bug forum link, as well as activate the pre-game and in-game
it's not even
editors. I mean, really,
anything.
do we need to remove the report bug? But I don't think we do, because there's still plenty of bugs, but I have not gotten to that yet. But here's the part that irks me the most. From Wednesday this week, our next update will be available on Steam via the public beta track. So there's a public beta out there that you're able to like play a more advanced build and test it. They're saying the next update is going to be available on that beta track the day after release day. The actual release day of Football Manager, there is no change to the game except removing the beta watermark and the report bug forum link. What did I say when I looked at this? Is the last straw for me.
Yeah,
when I got the alpha.
For a game that was already delayed, oh my God, for a whole year, that's just like, what is going on with these games, by the way? Like FC, I'm going to give them a stray, Konami, all these games always just, instead of releasing a new product every year, it's just a reskin with tons of bugs. I mean, EA this year as well, 11 patches. We've had in a month and a half, 11 patches. These companies got to stop releasing betas and release a damn product. We don't care if we got to wait. Look at GTA. They knew they're not ready, so they keep delaying it. Do it like GTA.
Played it, and I saw the potential, and it had a lot of bugs. I didn't get to play it for that long. I chose not to play it for that long so that I could get the fresh experience for the video, and then played it 90 minutes on stream. And you don't get through all of the screens when you do that. And I loved the match engine, and I thought the UI had a chance to be really cool. It was clunky, it was buggy, it was in alpha. I gave it a 9 out of 10. The beta comes out, has a lot of the same issues in it, and as I start to play an actual save, after a day or two, I find screens like the training screen. Screens that, just for whatever reason, are objectively worse than they were before the game was moved to Unity. There is nothing on this screen after you click on a training section to tell you that's where you need to click to go through all of these different sections. And to be quite honest, the presentation of information going on here is diabolical. I would go so far as to say that a screen like the training screen is unfinished. And what I can absolutely tell you is that the moment I cracked that open, I decided to automate my training because I didn't want to deal with it. And I'm a sicko. I am the person that should be wanting to do their training. I'm the target audience for this mechanic. And I just pushed it away on the responsibility because I just didn't want to deal with the way that it looked. So the more I played the beta, the more I got into a save, the more I ran into stuff like that. I don't necessarily have a problem with not being able to find things. The UI has been completely redesigned, but in some instances, things are not there. For example, if you are unemployed in the save. Here, let me make an unemployed manager real quick. Add a new head coach. Unemployed. As far as we can discern on stream, you can't search the player database anymore. Is this a big feature? No, but it highlights something that a lot of people have had an issue with. And that's the part of, this state of the football manager is trying to highlight things that I have come across, that other people have told me about and talked to me about on stream, on the YouTube videos. There are a lot of small quality of life features that just didn't get brought over. They don't exist. I mean, maybe it does exist. But Stream and I sat here for a while looking for a way to search the player database when you're unemployed, and there's just no way to do it. It's an example of a larger problem that there are a lot of little features like that that just didn't make the move. Now, why did they not make the move? Because it was completely redesigned. It's important to understand why this stuff happened. It doesn't make it okay, but because the last 20 years, Football Manager has been building on top of the, it's like Rome, right? If you go all the way down, you'll find that base game somewhere. You'll find the original Roman road, but you just keep building on top of it. With this, they had to start building their new city again. And I don't know if they forgot or if they just didn't have the time, which I think is more likely, but there are just a lot of things that were useful that existed in the old game that don't exist anymore. Of course, just to put this to bed, they unlocked the in-game editor and whatever. I got soft locked trying to use the in-game editor after 30 seconds. So clearly they're freaking out so much and now they're trying to fix the game. They have not had a lot of time to get the in-game editor functional. A lot of people instantly were having their games crash all over the place trying to use the in-game editor. Couldn't find stuff in it, right? Lots of typical complaints. But why am I sitting here making this video now? Because the release date came out and the game didn't change. That is my number one issue. I talked about it a little at the beginning of the stream, but I wanted to sit down and bring out facts. Now, well, facts, just have things that I could reference. Because Football Manager, and I looked this up actually, Football Manager 2024 came out on November 6th, 2023. November 6th being the key part of that. This game came out on November 4th. You know who decided to do that? Sports Interactive. They decided to release it on November 4th. Unless somewhere in the shadows, Sega said you have to release it by this date, but I can't. I mean, they've released games on November 19th before. November 4th is relatively early compared to the release dates the previous football managers have had. So I can't imagine that Sega would have said, hey, I know it's been 2 years, you don't get those last 2 weeks. I can't imagine a world where that would have happened, which means Football Manager picked the date November 4th, and then missed it again. And this comes after the Miles Jacobson interview tour, right? And as somebody that leads a company, I am fully aware of the fact that all the failures of the company are not necessarily my direct fault, but they are my indirect fault, right? Not to mention, it is usually my fault anyways, because all of the editors that work with me and work on all the channels that we have are fantastic, and I am normally the problem. I just want to be clear about that, but I'm just saying, generally, in an administrative position, this is not all on Miles. But he is the guy that did the interview tour in the run-up to this game, and he said some stuff that I would like to point out. But they, Sega, understand that quality is important when it comes to releasing games. You can't put shit in a box and expect to sell it. That's another reason why we went quiet after we announced that the game's canceled. We wanted to go back when we've actually got something to talk about, not promise that we're going to be delivering a game this year until we know what we're going to be delivering. They didn't. They didn't know. They dropped the beta. They dropped we're going to be delivering.
Look at what he said down here. In this world, you've got to shut the F up. Yo, this guy was going crazy in the interview.
Delivering a game this year,
Damn.
Actual release day. There was literally nothing special about the announced release day because they hadn't done the logistical administrative things that you needed to do to be able to pull up a bunch of updates to go live on the release day. How does that happen? That makes zero sense. You set the date. You decided when the beta was going to come out after you decided when the actual game was going to be released. And somehow you were unprepared for the idea that your release day was November 4th and that the game should get a big update on that release day. In this world, you got to shut the f up. Otherwise, people will take a tiny breadcrumb and turn it into a loaf of bread, particularly with the popularity of the game now. So I'm sorry you've had to wait a while, but this is the right time to be talking about it. I mean, I'll be honest, I don't think it was. I don't think it was. Now, why do I think that this happened, though? I think there's a pretty obvious reason that this happened when you assess those interviews that Miles did leading into all of this. And that is this kind of section right here in the Athletic article we're looking at right now. It's not what FM25 was going to be because that was a mistake. There is a lot of FM25 in there. There's also some more FM24 in there than there was going to be. And there are some things that we already had down for FM26 that are now in there. This was not a game they spent 2 years building. Whatever they were building to make FM25 clearly was terrible and not good. But at that point, they realized that they were maybe going in the completely wrong direction. And they made the decision, it would seem, to instead of keep building upon and polishing what FM25 was, to pivot again and try to throw together an FM26 that was different. They try and bring in more FM24 things in there. But of course, you're not really able to do that.
When everybody was expecting them for 2 years to be working on FM26, it was really only maybe a rushed year.
You have to replicate everything in Unity. They're not building on top of that old city anymore. They're building their new one. So now they're sitting here trying to do that. And they just didn't have enough time. And it just feels painful.
And the thing is, bro, FM is not usually a game I would put in this category of like rushed releases like Activision or EA, like they're usually pretty thoughtful and these games are pretty good. So what I would say to the FM guys, the devs working there, when you're going to do your updates, don't do what EA's doing this year with 14 updates that only every update does one or two things. Release an update that fixes 6 things, 5 things, not just 1 or 2. So you can release 5 updates, not 20. People get annoyed after a while when you got an update every damn day, in my opinion.
Fully obvious. Because game studios that have had enough time to develop a game, you don't miss release day. You don't miss release day. It doesn't happen. That's a line in the sand. That's a red herring. That's a thing that you see, you instantly know something's wrong, right? Part of Miles Jacobs' press tour was saying, we don't want to release a game that isn't going to be good value for money for people. This game still might be good value for money for people. I'm not going to go after him too hard for that, right? To be perfectly honest, I've enjoyed playing it for the most part. But also, to be perfectly honest, I'm easy to please. I am. I always have been. I'm not even necessarily talking about the quality of the game outside of the crashes and the obvious bugs and the weird loading, right? Because I think there is a lot of potential in the game. It's Football Manager in a better engine. Of course, there's a lot of potential in the game. They finally tried to go there. But now that Sports Interactive has tried to construct this new city, it was obvious with the cancellation of FM25, and it is now obvious again with the just missing of an update on the actual release day that there is an institutional failure at Sports Interactive trying to execute a game in the Unity engine. I'd have never worked in games. I certainly have never worked at Sports Interactive. I have no idea how you would go about trying to fix that. But this does not get fixed overnight. It doesn't. They have
First impressions are not everything, but damn are they important, bro. And that's the problem. When you release something that's rushed or not what the community is expecting, because you don't buy yourself enough time, man, is it hard to recover from that first impression. FC's having that problem this year. The first impression was really good, actually. They dropped a couple patches that made it worse, and people just feel disgusted by that. People are so tired of EA. So
I think the most striking thing for me is if there's no big update on the release day, right? And they're trying to sprint the update out the night of Wednesday. I think there's another tweet here I pulled up. The FM Steam public beta update's currently undergoing final checks. They hope that it goes up
confusing on
soon,
FM.
right? In the evening, 36 hours after the actual release day. That's when they're hoping that it goes up. But the damage is done. That was it. This is it. The game's already out. It's already out. The reviews are in. This is who Sports Interactive is now. The Emperor has no clothes. I was waiting. There were no more cards up the sleeve. The sleeves were empty. There was no big update. The full game is out, and it's the same game that I was playing on the beta after the 31st of October. They just removed the watermark and the report bug feature. Bro, this doesn't mean it's the end of the road. Of course not. No Man's Sky, one of my favorite games of all time, when it was released, got universally condemned and then has just posted a bunch of free updates and turned into one of the best games ever over 10 years. But when I said, I can't remember if it was on stream or in a YouTube video, that FM26 feels like it might be a beta year, what better proof do you have of it being a beta year than the launch game version being the exact same as the beta that you were playing before? It is, if canceling FM25 violated people's trust, and I think some people overreacted to that, because at the end of the day, this is a video game that I love to play, but it is a video game. Some people react too harshly and kind of forget that fact. They feel like it's some sort of giant personal
But it doesn't mean
when it's really more of a personal slight. I think
you
this
should be getting
creates a significantly more damaged trust between the fan base and the game studio that it will take time to build back. At the very best.
Listen, when you spend money, your hard-earned money on a game, you expect a finished product. Not a game you have to keep checking a Twitter account to see 20 posts about updates fixing this, and that. It should just be released and fixed because you spent $50, $70, $100 on it. So hopefully FM can recover. Again, the first impression is not good. I've seen it everywhere. People are complaining about a variety of things. And when Zealand feels some type of way, who's usually positive about FM, and, I'm going to be there to listen. I'm going to be there to probably feel like his opinion is valid. So hopefully FM can get it together, because I agree. It's been a really glitchy start for already being delayed a year, but I think his theory makes a lot of sense. I'm not giving FM the benefit here, but that they probably went one way on 25, didn't work out, and just scrapped it and then started going quickly on a new build on 26. So FM guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. As a casual, for me, I still like playing FM, but man, I have agreed. It's been really glitchy this year, and it's been really buggy. Just buggy everywhere. Things not loading, tabs not working, crowd noises. I would say specifically how hard it is to do instructions and tactics at times. It's so confusing. And it's not just this great grand new UI. It's really confusing. So what are you guys thinking, man? Thanks for watching.